What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron, and today we're going to be talking about the new album Vaxis 2, A Window of the Waking Mind by the band Coheed and Cambria. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this band, they are a progressive rock, prog metal, punk rock band from New York. They started around 1995, and this is their 10th studio album. It's been about 4 years since the first Vaxis album, Unheavenly Creatures, was released, which was the return to the Amory Wars concept. It was also when the band started writing more arena rock focus songs that were a little bit more poppy and a little bit more digestible for listeners that weren't really too familiar with the concept. Vaxis 2 is definitely a continuation of that sound, and maybe even more so, which I think will be kind of a turnoff to more hardcore fans that have been listening to them since the beginning and really fell in love with that sound, and they don't really care too much for radio rock now. But I do know there's a lot of Coheed fans that have been listening to them since the beginning who still love them just as much today. And the Vaxis story follows Nia and Nostrand, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and their son Vaxis as they're on the run from bounty hunters and droids. You could tell this story even since the beginning, when the concept was first thought of and all that. It was very Star Wars inspired. It's also based on Claudio's experiences as a parent. I mean, obviously his family isn't on the run from bounty hunters and stuff, but I mean, all the comics and stories are kind of based on fantasies around his life. The album opens up with the song The Embers of Fire, which is a typical Coheed intro song with piano and like this epic adventure soundtrack kind of sound to it. Then it goes into the song Beautiful Losers. It has a slow, nostalgic melody with like a chugging riff in the verse. It has this old school Coheed sound mixed with their newer sound, and the chorus is kind of anthemy, and it says that there's no shame in running for your life. The pre-chorus is different each time it comes around, and I think that does a lot to add to the story. The lyrics in the bridge are kind of cool, as it says, wrong side of courage in a toy box full of phobias. I really like the metaphors that Claudio uses throughout all of his albums, and this album is definitely no different. And I thought this was a pretty decent song. I consider this one to be more of the opener. Then we have the song Comatose, which has this weird vocal effect in the intro, and the riff and the verse is pretty dynamic, but it wasn't really anything too special to my ears. The chorus is definitely saved by the lyrics and the vocals, but I said it in my Hollow Front review, and I'm going to say it again. Comatose has been beat to death in the musical world. It's used as a chorus hook, and it's been used so much. Skillet's been singing about Comatose since 2004, and people are still just using it. They're just using it. It's always the same way. The song is always called Comatose. It's been done, and to me, it kind of ruins songs before I even go into it. Now, I will say that this song isn't that big of an offender because they don't rely on the word and just the syllables used in Comatose and what it means to that extent. But I mean, it was still like you could tell where this song is going. And musically, this song it didn't stand out to me all that much. I mean, the bridge is very drum and vocal forward. It goes into a final chorus. It was very cookie cutter-ish, kind of, especially, I don't know, the name also kind of got to me. Then we have the song Shoulders. I did a review on this song when it first came out, and I liked the quick guitar riff, but not the guitar and the vocal effect. I feel like messing with Claudio's vocals is practically a crime at this point, and I feel like a lot of fans feel the same way. And I think that this is more of like a prize fighter kind of thing that Claudio started doing. Prize Fighter is one of Claudio's other projects that he does. He hasn't done anything for it for quite a while, but this is something that he does on those projects and that kind of album. And he's kind of brought it into Coheed and Cambria now, and I feel like it just isn't quite the same, and it takes away from what you're expecting to hear. The chorus is big, and again, it has a really good hook, but it's a little bit too arena rock for my taste, and there's no bridge in this song, which was kind of disappointing to me. A Disappearing Act has a synth-driven intro, and it's very drum forward in the verses. The pre-chorus has a strong effect, and the chorus is fairly comforting, saying it's okay to be afraid. And so far, each bridge in all of these songs becomes more and more disappointing as it goes on. All of Coheed's earlier records, even going up like halfway through their career, they've had some of the best bridges I've ever heard in any song, and it's just so powerful and it brings so much emotion out, and you can just really, it's just so tangible. And these bridges are just, they're so lazy. There's almost nothing to them. And like the last song, Shoulders, didn't have a bridge and it worked out fine. So, I mean, it's kind of how it is. It's like if there is a bridge or if there isn't, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. And I feel like the bridge of a song should be one of the more powerful moments, and I don't think they're using it to their advantage anymore. Love Murder 1 starts out on a very vocal heavy chorus with more effects thrown in there. I really love the drums in this verse. It reminds me a lot of the song Everything Evil from their first album, Second Stage Turbine Blade. I am, however, not really feeling the chorus, but I like that the second verse keeps the momentum going from the chorus instead of dying back down again. And the vocals in the bridge have like this fuzz effect thing going on. Again, it's not really good. I wasn't really into it. Other than the throwback feel in the verses of this song, I feel like it kind of fell flat. I also did a review on the song The Liars Club when it first came out. It starts out with this bouncy beat and Claudio's vocals that, again, have an effect on it. But this time, it doesn't sound too bad to me. I actually enjoyed it a little bit. The chorus is another arena rock inspired thing that's just kind of there to be catchy. The lyrics are decent, as I think it's about how sometimes the truth can be harder to handle than a lie. Then we have the song Bad Man, which has a lot of synth in the verses and on the vocals as well. The lyrics are kind of silly, but I think it has a lot to do with the dialogue of the story. Verse 2 is a little haunting as the entire mood changes. The bridge is fairly boring and acts more as like a post-chorus than an actual bridge. Also has kind of a throwback feel to it, but I feel like this song has much to be desired in terms of just creativity and songwriting and music. There's also some slower songs on this album that I didn't think I would like that much, but they turned out to be some of my favorites. The first one is Blood. It's got this cool plunky guitar part and a vocal melody that plays off of the drums. The chorus is basically all vocals, but the lyrics are good. And I really like that they did something different with this chorus. I feel like all the other choruses in this album are trying to be really big and epic, and when you see them live, when the chorus comes around, all the lights are going to get really bright and it's going to be really loud and you're just going to be just moved by it, and it's just kind of the same thing over and over again. And I like that they just did something that stood out to me just a little bit more. By the second time the chorus comes around, it's got drums and some synth giving a little bit more texture, but again, it's not trying to be just this giant thing that feels super inspiring, and it worked out really well for them. Then we also have the song Our Love, which is a sweet song about a couple's love for each other and how he'll always be by her side. And it's pretty much all synth, but it just works really well as a love song. Rise Nianasha starts out with a verse that's very long. It seems to be more focused on the story. The chorus is definitely earworm, being about cutting the cord and letting their boy kind of fight his own battles. But if you ever need mom and dad, all you have to do is call on us and we will be there for you. I feel like this song is pretty flat musically. I mean, it doesn't really do much other than the chorus. There's no like big moments. And even then, I feel like all they're doing is just turning the sound up in the mix. It just gets a little bit louder, and like I said, it's just the part in the concert where all the lights will get really bright and it's just really emotional and big, but it's kind of the same thing over and over again as all the other songs. One of my favorite songs on this album, though, is Ladders of Supremacy. It's got like this cool sound effect thing going on in the intro, and it leans into a ominous riff and guitar melody. It's sort of anthemy, but at the same time, it's very proggy, showing that Coheed can still write some interesting musical parts. The verses are bouncy, and it starts soaring as it goes into the pre-chorus. The chorus is very quick and to the point with a good hook and a screaming guitar solo thing that kind of reminds me a little bit of Pink Floyd. The bridge is a lot better this time around, with a solid build-up going into a guitar solo and an unexpected verse 3. And it finishes off on the outro that kind of brings the story all the way around, and is definitely a good progression in storytelling as well. Then we have the closing track, which is also the title track, and this is one of the longer songs on this album. It's another progressive piece, and it's got different parts to it instead of having verses and choruses. And just bear with me because this might be a little long, because there's a lot of stuff to dive into it here. Like The intro, or I guess part 1, is an acoustic guitar part with vocals and this ethereal synth thing that just fills the atmosphere with wonder. And then we go into part 2, which is from the point of view of Vaxis, which is their son, as he's being awakened. And the vocals are kind of just all around. The entire sound of this just gets very dark and heavy and gets very serious. And part 3 is from a narrator's perspective, and it speaks with a lot of authority. It has a dynamic riff as the song continues to build on itself. And I feel like this part gets kind of personal, and it's talking about their actual son as he's going to doctor's appointments for what I believe is autism. I'm not really sure if their son has autism or not, but I feel like that's kind of what it is. And it's truly touching hearing them fight for him, and just hearing how special he is to them and how much they love him, and they just love his creativity and his imagination. And then we have part 4, which he's kind of like they're trying to figure out what's wrong with him, and they're trying to get responses from him. And then we have part 5, which is from the mother's perspective. And again, it's very touching. It's all about how he's her bright star and how much she loves him. And part 6 is about enjoying being a child. It's from the father's perspective. And just take your time. Don't hurry up to grow old, and just live your life. And the outro is very theatrical with a lot of orchestration and horns. And this is just such a great closing track. And it really shows what this whole story is about, and how I believe that Claudio is taking the inspirations from his son and his imagination, and because he kind of talks about it a little bit, like the things that his son says, and he applies it to his stories in these songs, and it just means so much more. And like by the time I got to this part of the album and I started going through this song, this album just meant so much more to me now, because it's just so much deeper than that. And the way he integrated all of their adventures and the stuff that they're going through into these songs in this sort of manner, and what they're dealing with and their struggles, it just hits so much harder. And this song is it is a perfect song. I wish the rest of the album had songs that were kind of built around this. I feel like that'd help it out a lot more. But I mean, it's just so good. I really did enjoy this album, but I gotta admit that I don't love it, which hurts me a lot to say, because I love Coheed and Cambria, but at the same time, I have to be completely unbiased in these, or at least I try to be. And the lyrics are good, but they're far from perfect. At times it could be a little silly, and if you don't really know the story that much, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to get into them. The music is also good throughout, and the storytelling is probably the best part. But I mean, the songwriting could definitely be better. It's gotten a little bit lazier. It's gotten a little bit more, just radio friendly. Ladders of Supremacy and the title track song are really the only unique songs throughout this album, and the rest is kind of just stuff you would hear on the radio. It's just arena rock stuff, and it's just done over and over and over again. And like I said before, I feel like there's going to be a lot of diehard fans that really love this album, and there's going to be a lot of diehard fans that are like, no, they've gone too far into just playing big stages and stuff. I just can't do it anymore. So with all that said, I gotta give Vaxis 2, Window of the Waking Mind by Coheed and Cambria, a 6.4 out of 10. And that rating was really hard for me, because I wanted to give it higher, and at the same time I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to go lower, so I tried to just be right in the middle of where I feel like it should belong. But I want to know what you guys think, especially since there's a lot of diehard Coheed fans out there. And leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Vaxis 2. Let me know what your favorite song is and what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like. And while you're down there, leave a comment below letting me know what I should review next as well. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon, doing any of that stuff. I appreciate it more than you guys could ever imagine. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying